Hey everyone, it's Lady Night, and so today, still a beautiful day, and so I'm filming outside, and yes, that's a pyramid. So I recently, actually on Monday, 2 days ago, I got a new tarot deck, and that is the Lover's Path Tarot. This is the premium edition, and what is the difference between the premium and the regular edition is that it comes in this thing where this slides in, and the deck is in this little box in here, and you get this spreadsheet kind of thingy with it. And that's really the only difference from the regular tarot deck. So, and I have seen this deck on YouTube. It's been around for quite a while. I mean, the copyright is, I think, 2004 and 2013. Let me check. Yeah, 2004 and 2013 by Kris Waldherr. And copyright, so I can't really read anything from here. So, yeah, this deck has been around for a while, but there's not that many videos about this deck. I saw it first on Zach's channel from the Tiger's Abyss. He got it and he did a flip through. And I was really intrigued by it because a lot of the, like the major arcana cards, a lot of them are actually, or have been turned into operas. And yeah, so we'll just go through them. So the first one, okay, here we have Tamino and Pamina. This is from the Magic Flute from Mozart. Then we have Vivian and Merlin. Then we have 1001 Night. We have Scheherazade and Shahryar. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. So she was pretty clever, and she prevented her own death by telling him stories and making them so interesting that he wanted to see her every night to tell another story, and that's how she stayed alive. For the Empress fertility, we have Cleopatra and Caesar, which makes sense. She did have 4 children, 3 with Caesar, 1 with Marc Antonio, but only one of them actually lived a long life. The first son was, I think he was killed when he was 17. Then the second pregnancy was twins, a boy and a girl. The boy didn't really survive long. And the daughter, Celine, she actually lived, and then she had another child with Marc Antonio that also didn't really make it. So for power, the Emperor, we have Arthur and Guinevere. The High Priest is tradition, and that's from Romeo and Juliet, even though it's not really about the love story between Romeo and Juliet. It's actually about him, like he's the Hierophant because he's the one helping them. He's the spiritual teacher, and yeah, he's the one that this card is actually about. The Lover's card. Isis and Osiris. They're brother and sister. So I think there could have been a better love story than this one, maybe, for the lovers. Any other story, maybe. Now, for the Chariot, we have Desire. Tristan and Isolde has been turned into an opera, which I'm going to see, I think, this year. And the Chariot makes sense because they did fall in love on a ship. And yeah, tragic story, no happy end. For Strength, we have Brünnhilde and Siegfried. She is one of the Valkyries, and he is actually her nephew. So another incest story. And his parents were twinsies, so twincest. So yeah, his grandfather is her father. Crazy story. From the Ring Cycle. For the Hermit, we have Contemplation. That's the story of Abelard and Eloise. That's also a very interesting story. He was in his late 30s and he was like a philosophy teacher, and all the ladies in town were swooning over him. And she was a 17-year-old student of his, and he just fell in love with her, or at least they had an affair. She got pregnant, and her father was not really happy about it, and he also, like, okay, I kind of forgot how this really goes, but in the end, because she ended up pregnant, they did get married, but something happened, and he had his manhood cut off. And then he went to become a monk, and she also went someplace secluded. So yeah, pretty weird story. For the Wheel of Fortune, we have Zeus and Danae, which is also one of the minor arcana suits. Also Tristan and Isolde, and Brünnhilde and Siegfried are also minor arcana stories. Then we have Penelope and Odysseus for justice. We have Orpheus and Eurydice, whatever she's called in different languages. We have Death as transformation, and we have Persephone and Pluto, or Hades, like he is the lord of the underworld, god of the underworld. For temperance, we have balance. We have Venus and Vulcan, so water and fire together. Here's a story that I'm not familiar with. It's the 15, the Devil card, Temptation, and that's Paolo and Francesca. So I have to research that one. For the Tower, we have Dido and Aeneas, Oppression. Then we have Dante and Beatrice as Grace, from Dante's Inferno, I think. For the Moon, we have Ivan or Ivan and Odette, Illusion, and that is Swan Lake. And you can see her, like, she's in the middle of the transformation because you can see her arms are kind of like see-through. Her head is still here, and so she's turning into the swan. For number 19, we have Cupid and Psyche for the Awakening, and this is also one of the major minor arcana suits. This is the swords, which is here the arrows. For Judgment, we have Tannhäuser and Elisabeth, also an opera by Wagner. And this, there's also Venus in that story, because Tannhäuser, he was in the mountain of Venus, and that's a place where there's constant orgies and just, it's like a big pleasure dome. And he's been there for quite some time, and then all of a sudden he decided, wait, this is just getting a little bit too much, and I want to go back to Elisabeth. I want to have something real. And he said to Venus, you know what? I'm going to go. And Venus was like, excuse me? You're not leaving me. So yeah, Venus is not all that lovey-dovey, at least not in this story. She got quite upset, and she was like, no man has ever left me. And if you do this, if you leave, don't dare to come back. So yeah, she was very outspoken about that. And the last card we have Triumph, and that is Dionysus and Ariadne. And there's also an opera about Ariadne. So yeah, that's the major arcana cards. And I'm just going to show these right now. There is a companion book for this, because this only comes with a little white book. But the companion book is kind of hard to find. But if you want to know more about this deck, I mean, on the package, like on the back right here, there is a website, and that's loverspath.com. That website doesn't exist anymore. Instead, what you can do is you can go to kriswaldherr.com, and there you can find some freebies, some PDFs from different books, and I will post the link below. And you can actually find, for example, the story of Amo and Psyche in there as a freebie. And you can also find 34 pages of the Lover's Path Tarot book. And yeah, that is definitely worth checking out. And then there's a website, tarotgoddess.com, and there you can get free readings with different decks, and that's the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Goddess Tarot, which is from the same creator, and the Lover's Path Tarot. And if you type in the question, the computer does the rest, and you actually get explanations with the cards. And if you have some time and you want to try different things, just to have different cards come up, because the court cards are actually, they have a really good lengthy paragraph as a description. The other cards are described relatively small, but for the court cards, this is actually really good if you want to find out more about these cards and you don't have the big companion book. So yeah, check out these websites. And I am going to do a series on this tarot deck where I go into detail with all the stories, and I'll explain them, and we will look at why each story was chosen for each card and what the archetypes of these cards, like what the story is in relation to these archetypes and what that can teach us and how we can use that for tarot reading. Because I think a reason why this deck is not featured so frequently is that it might be difficult to connect to these stories if you have to spend a long time researching that. So instead, I will do that for you, and I will tell you all of these stories, and then you can just lean back, listen, and maybe that will give you a little bit of input when you want to work with your Lover's Path Tarot. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!